In F1's history, few names shine as brightly as Michael Schumacher. With 7 world championships and 91 race victories, Schumacher didn't just compete, he rewrote the record books. But beyond the statistics lie moments of pure magic, instances where Schumacher's brilliance left an indelible mark on the sport. Today, we're counting down the top 10 Schumacher moments we'll never forget. Make sure to stay around till the end to enjoy these moments. Number 10. Monaco Grand Prix 2012. Our countdown begins with a moment that, while bittersweet, showcased Michael Schumacher's enduring brilliance. Even in the twilight of his career, the 2012 Monaco Grand Prix qualifying session saw Schumacher turn back the clock, delivering a lap reminiscent of his prime. At 43 years old, in his 3rd season of his comeback with Mercedes, Schumacher was no longer considered a frontrunner. The W03 wasn't a championship contending car, and Schumacher had been generally outperformed by his younger teammate, Nico Rosberg. But on that Saturday in Monaco, none of that mattered. As the checker flag fell on Q3, it was Schumacher's name at the top of the timesheets. He had navigated the treacherous streets of Monte Carlo faster than anyone else, beating Mark Webber's Red Bull by a margin of 0.08 seconds. For a moment, it seemed like Schumacher had secured his 69th pole position, extending a record he already held. Number 9. European Grand Prix 1995. Moving up on our list, we come to a moment that encapsulates Michael Schumacher's racing prowess. His breathtaking pass on Jean Alesi's European Grand Prix. The race held at the Nürburgring was a wet affair. With just 2 laps to go, Schumacher made his move. He went outside Alesi through a chicane in a maneuver that would have been audacious even in dry conditions. Schumacher's pass was so precise, so perfectly judged, that Alesi, known for his aggressive defending, couldn't do anything to prevent it. The Ferrari driver later admitted his move was completely correct. If we touched a little, it was just because there was nowhere else for the wheels to go. This overtake secured Michael Schumacher's 17th career victory and edged him closer to his 2nd consecutive world championship. Number 8. Spanish Grand Prix 1994. Our next moment showcases Schumacher's speed, incredible adaptability, and determination. Early in the race, Schumacher's Benetton suffered a severe gearbox malfunction. The car became stuck in 5th gear, a problem that would have forced most drivers to retire. But Schumacher wasn't like most drivers. Instead of pulling into the pits, Schumacher chose to continue. Driving a Formula 1 car with only 1 usable gear is an enormous challenge. The engine was bogging down in slow corners, struggling to provide enough power. While he couldn't match the pace of race leader Damon Hill, he was still faster than much of the field. In a display of sheer willpower and skill, Schumacher nursed his crippled Benetton to a 2nd place finish, crossing the line just 24 seconds behind Hill. Number 7. Belgian Grand Prix 1992. Schumacher's race weekend didn't start perfectly. He qualified 3rd behind the dominant Williams cars of Nigel Mansell and Riccardo Patrese. However, race day brought challengeable conditions. Schumacher found himself running in 3rd place as the race progressed behind his Benetton teammate Martin Brundle. On lap 29, Schumacher made a rare mistake, sliding off the track at Stavelot, but this error would inadvertently lead to his victory. After joining behind Brundle, Schumacher noticed his teammates' tires were blistering. Without hesitation, he dived into the pits for fresh slicks. When Mansell finally pitted, Schumacher swept into the lead. From there, he controlled the race perfectly, managing his pace and his tires to cross the finish line first, securing his maiden Grand Prix victory. Number 6. Brazilian Grand Prix 2006. The context of this race was dramatic. Schumacher was locked in a tight championship battle with Fernando Alonso to clinch his 8th world title. Schumacher needed to win the race, with Alonso finishing out of the points. However, things got off to a terrible start. A fuel pressure problem in qualifying left Schumacher starting from 10th on the grid. When disaster struck on lap 9, when he suffered from a puncture dropping him to last place. For most drivers, this would have been game over, but Schumacher wasn't ready to end his Ferrari career without a fight. By the end of the race, Schumacher had fought his way back to 4th place, finishing just off the podium. Number 5. Belgian Grand Prix 1991. Our 5th moment takes us back to where it all began. Michael Schumacher's Formula 1 debut at the 1991 Belgian Grand Prix. The circumstances leading to Schumacher's debut were unusual. Jordan's regular driver, Bertrand Gachat, found himself in London prison after an altercation with a taxi driver. Team boss Eddie Jordan needed a replacement, and a young German sports car driver named Michael Schumacher got the call. Despite never having driven the car before and having only seen the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit on foot, Schumacher stunned the paddock with his performance. In his first qualifying session in Formula One, Schumacher placed his Jordan 191 7th on the grid. To put this into perspective, his vastly more experienced teammate Andrea De Cesaris can only manage 11th. This performance was noticed. Flavio Briatore, the boss of the more competitive Benetton team, immediately moved to sign Schumacher for the next race. Number 4. Hungarian Grand Prix 1998. The 1998 season saw Schumacher in an intense championship battle with McLaren's Mika Häkkinen. Coming into Hungary, Schumacher needed a strong result to keep his title hopes alive. The race began with Schumacher in third, behind the two McLarens. However, Ferrari and their technical director, Ross Brawn, had a bold plan. They opted for a three-stop strategy, a highly unusual choice at a track where overtaking was notoriously difficult. Schumacher must drive qualifying-style laps for almost the entire race for this strategy to work. He would need to build a big enough gap to make his extra pit stop and still come out ahead. By the time Schumacher made his final stop, he had built enough of a gap to rejoin the race in the lead. He crossed the finish line first, taking a crucial victory in the championship fight. Number 3. Belgian Grand Prix 1995. The 1995 Belgian Grand Prix showcased Schumacher's mastery of this challenging track and unparalleled skills in changing conditions. The weekend didn't start well for Schumacher. A crash in practice left his Benetton team scrambling to repair the car, and he could only manage 16th place in qualifying. For most drivers, starting out from the 8th row of the grid at Spa would mean a long, difficult race. For Schumacher, it was an opportunity to demonstrate his brilliance. Schumacher began to carve his way through the field as the lights went out. By lap 15, he had climbed to 3rd place. Then the rain began to fall. While others struggled with the changing grip levels, Schumacher thrived. On lap 16, he took the lead and began to pull away from the field. Schumacher's main title rival, Damon Hill, was charging through the field on wet tires, lapping 6 seconds faster than Schumacher on slicks. As Hill caught up, Schumacher had to use every trick in his book to keep the Williams behind. When the track dried and Hill was forced to pit for slicks, Schumacher's gamble to stay out on dry tires paid off handsomely. He crossed the finish line nearly 20 seconds ahead of Hill, turning what looked like a certain defeat into a dominant victory. Number 2. Malaysian Grand Prix 1999. Just 98 days before this race, Schumacher had suffered a horrific crash at the British Grand Prix, breaking his leg and missing 6 races. After his return, Schumacher's performance in Malaysia silenced those doubts in the most empathetic way possible. In his first qualifying session since his return, Schumacher didn't match the pace. He obliterated it. He secured pole position by nearly a second, a margin that left the paddock in awe. However, Schumacher's role in the race was not to win, but to support his teammate Eddie Irvine's championship bid. Schumacher allowed Irvine to take the lead at the start, then spent the rest of the race as a mobile roadblock, holding up Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard. His pace was metronomic. His defense was impenetrable. He could speed up or slow down at will, controlling the gap to those behind him with surgical precision. Number 1. Spanish Grand Prix 1996. The 1996 season was Schumacher's first with Ferrari, and it had yet to start well. The Ferrari F310 was, to put it mildly, a handful. Schumacher's teammate Eddie Irvine described it as a piece of junk, and even the great Germans struggled to tame it. Qualifying in Barcelona did little to lift spirits in the Ferrari garage. Schumacher could only manage 3rd, nearly a second behind Damon Hill's Williams. But then came race day, with it torrential rain. As the lights went out, Schumacher dropped to 6th. By lap 12, Schumacher was up to 3rd. 5 laps later, he passed Jacques Villeneuve for 2nd. Then, on lap 24, he overtook Jean Alesi for the lead. From that point on, Schumacher was in a race of his own. By the end of the race, Schumacher had lapped everyone up to 3rd. His margin for victory was a staggering 45 seconds over Jean Alesi in 2nd. The performance left the paddock in awe, and his rivals in despair. What moment do you think was a complete blockbuster, and why? Share your thoughts in the comment section and remember to subscribe to the channel. See you next time.